This is going to be a good match from what I'm getting these vibes so far.
Good vibrations?
Excuse me?
Never mind.
Oh, that's chat doesn't need to hear about that.
I know that song shows you just how old I am.
Definitely.
All right, just waiting a few minutes here, or a few seconds here while the team loads. 7 of the 10 players are in. As soon as the final 3 get into this game, we'll be able to start seeing their opening purchases, kind of hopefully see what kind of strategy these teams might be planning to employ. We saw in the first game that level 1 invade that ended with the Odin dying early because the Odin selected his Gungnir's Might skill immediately, his 3, which, while extremely powerful and one of the best slows in this game, doesn't really help you when you're completely surrounded and getting shot at by different angles. A better thing, as the interviewer from CoGxx Slice showed us, would have been to wait, find out what exactly the situation was, and had he been caught out like that, the 1 being leveled up then would have allowed him to escape possibly with his life rather than giving up an early first blood and putting him as far behind as it did.
Yeah, that is definitely for sure. We're going to see these builds come out so far. Looks like on Chalk, Team CoGxX, we're going to see an early Hide of Leviathan. If he does build this into Hide of Urchin, he's going to be able to get those stacks early on in-game, giving him a lot of defense just for 1 item.
Exactly, and a lot of chalks do favor the Hide of the Sea Urchin for precisely that reason. The Rainstorm ability restores so much of your HP, and having those extra protections that stack up both from the Hide of the Sea Urchin in its base stats, as well as the bonus protections that start arising after you get those kills, just makes Chalk an extremely tanky monster that is still capable of putting out a noticeable amount of damage.
Definitely. All of the players are going to go currently to their jungle camps. Bacchus and Anhur going to this blue, Neith and Ymir coming over onto their blue as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get to have any exciting invades this game. Looks like we're just going to have a relatively calm, standard opening. Hopefully, we can see this balloon out into some unstandard aggression as quickly as possible. Agni is going to do his team a favor there, light the Harpies on fire just to get a little bit of extra damage down and help them clear that camp a little much quicker. We notice that the Ao Kuang coming in from the side here doesn't go for... There we go. There goes the tornado coming down. Agni is actually going to now be trapped to go... has to go forward with the Path of Flames instead of perhaps backward like he might have originally wanted to.
I'd also like to point out something very interesting as well. Looks like Celestialponies is going in for kind of a reverse start here. Ymir and Neith are in what many players seem to call the solo lane because it is the shorter lane. It's definitely better in solo. Chalk is going to have to go against a 1v2 constantly while Ra and Thanatos are just chilling over in the dual lane. And Thanatos is probably going to leave this lane soon to continue his jungle lane.
He is, and you know what, and when you think about it, this actually makes a lot of sense because as we talked about, obviously one of the things that a lot of players would shy away from doing a 2v1 lane is the fact that minions lose their gold value if they're struck by a tower bolt. However, Ra, as we talked about in the pregame when we were discussing a Chalk versus Ra matchup, the Ra's Solar Blessing does an excellent job of sustaining minions and deleting out enemy minions, which means Ra is a lot better suited to doing a 2v1 lane than Chalk would, I think.
Yes, that is definitely true. Chalk will only get his sustain from his 3 Rainstorm, just giving some back health a little bit over time, gradually. However, the Solar Blessing is just better for staying in lane overall.
Exactly, because in this case, the Rain Dance will only benefit Chalk, whereas Solar Blessing can benefit both the Ra and its minions, which means
we're going
the
to
Ra,
see
as you mentioned,
Neith and Ymir going over into this jungle right now, and they're going to start stealing Chalk's jungle. Agni is going to clear out the wave in the middle as Ao Kuang, Thanatos, and Ra are going to take mid
Chalk could be in
Harpies.
trouble here.
Yes, it does seem like it. His health is about halfway. He's taking some Neith auto attacks. He's going to head back into tower. It looks like he is safe for now.
Unfortunately, a misplayed wall there from the Ymir. Chalk was able to get through there. The freeze, had it caught him on the other side of the wall, I think would have possibly not resulted in a kill, but definitely a serious amount of damage on the Chalk's health that might have forced a recall.
That is definitely for sure. He's going to use his Rainstorm to get back some health here, as he's going to take a lot of push from this Neith and Ymir. They are kind of free to do as they wish right now.
We see that Fenrir is still level 3, while Thanatos is level 4. Fenrir wanting to be level 5 as quickly as possible. Fenrir does have the ability to gank pre-5 using obviously the Unchained Jump and the Brutalize, probably the most famous ability that Fenrir is very well known for. However, having that Ragnarok ultimate where you're able to grab someone and just drag them wherever you please for 2.5 seconds really is what makes Fenrir terrifying. And given that there's only 1 beads on Celestial Ponies at this point, the gank potential for Fenrir is extremely high.
That is for sure. Looks like Thanatos is going to come in here for the steal. Looks like he's waiting for Fenrir to possibly come in here for steal and then for speed and steal it himself. Fenrir doesn't seem to notice Thanatos, or perhaps just does not want to get into a fight right now. He's not going to go for speed. Looks like they have noticed Thanatos. Thanatos is going to go in for speed. Agni is coming over. Fenrir is coming over. This could be a bad situation for Thanatos. Thanatos does have his ult up. He can ult out here with ease. He is going to use Hog, try and get this speed buff, and it's not going to be enough. He should have ulted earlier.
There's that Ragnarok we told about. Thanatos is going to get up, but it's not enough. The wind-up time on Hovering Death, too long. Agni's Rainfire comes down. First Blood is going to end up going to CoGxx. And the important thing to note is that because the red potion hadn't fully ticked out yet, Thanatos might have had enough time to make one more play, but unfortunately dying prematurely also means the red potion is going to be extinguished from him.
Yeah, that is going to be an unfortunate disadvantage for the jungler now. Looks like CoGxx not wanting their Chalk to go up against the dual lane. They're going to rotate lanes. Bacchus and Onher are now in the short lane, while Chalk is facing off against Ra in the dual lane. Well, long lane, to be more accurate at this point, because it's not a dual lane now, it's definitely a solo lane.
It is not, and we can kind of see that. The Chalk is still level 6 with only 2,900 gold, whereas the Ra is level 7 with a little bit more gold. The gold isn't too big of a disparity, but the fact that the Chalk is a little bit behind on experience, we can look at the experience bar in total, seeing that there isn't that much of an experience difference. Actually, there's no experience differential at this point. So while Chalk might be lacking a little bit behind, the fact that the Fenrir, the teammates of Chalk are making up over and above for his small deficiency.
We're going to see Ra actually being taken out here. Looks like he was going to come back into this solo lane, maybe trying to reset things back to normal, being short and solo and duo and long. He's going to get taken out though by Onher, giving a more of a lead to Team CoGxx than before.
And I think the reason behind this is, if we look, the Ra didn't have anything beyond his initial purchases, whereas the Onher now has the Tabby level 1, the Devourer's Gloves level 1, and that little extra damage, I think, was just a little too much for Ra to handle at this point. So Ra being at a slight itemized disadvantage kind of ended up costing him his life.
Definitely. We're going to see Neith and Ymir, again, against this Chalk. They don't want to let up on him. Maybe this is Celestial Pony's strategy and the reason for Ra switching over to the now dual lane. I'm not even sure at this point, because things are going little crazy in this match. Lanes are going everywhere, a lot of rotations. This match could go poorly or well for both sides.
Indeed, and it's kind of one of those things, we're all struggling with the question of how do we defeat Chalk, because like we said earlier, he's got an almost perfect kit. He's got very good sustain, he's got an ability that gives him buffs, protection buffs the more people he hits. He's got an ultimate that makes him invincible and CC immune. And
it looks
so
like Thanatos is actually going to get
ganked
ganked in the jungle. Blue team or CoGxx is going to get that jungle buff. Bacchus is going to go over to pick it. Thanatos used his Hovering Death to get out that situation. Ao Kuang is rotating over. The Soil Blessings coming out from Ra. It's not going to hit too many people. Just a few ticks onto Bacchus. Left tower is being pushed by Neith. Chalk is in his tower. He did go back, so he does have mana at this point. He can defend a bit more well now. He can't really defend against dual lane Neith and Ymir, however.
And that's the problem, Chalk does have that Hand of the Gods to help him out a little bit with wave clear, but it's only up once every 60 seconds, and minions spawn a lot faster than that. So he only is able to use it once every other wave, and as a result, you can see the Ymir and the Neith are able to constantly push in on that tower. Both of the you can see that the tower is already at about 60% health, and the Celestial Ponies show no sign of letting up.
Yeah, we are going to see Agni going to rotate in here, actually. Ymir is going to notice Agni rotating in, and they're just going to go back into their lanes. Ao Kuang looks like he's going to rotate over. He's going to start up this mid-gold camp. Agni notices here comes a stun onto the Thanos. The Fenrir jumps in. Here comes the Ragnarok. and he's just going to stick Thanatos right into this flame path. The Brutalize is going to come out. He's going to take out Thanatos. The ult is going to come out. It's going to actually hit the Fenrir. Here comes a Neath ult and a few auto attacks. Ymir is going in here as well. I'm not sure why he walled there. A Squall, Tornado misses, and Ao Kuang is going to pick up Agni with an auto attack.
Auto attack's OP. And, you know, one of the common pickups on Ao Kuang is that Polynomicon, giving the magical power that a god currently has added on
It looks
his
like
auto attack.
Raw is going to be picked up here as well. Intoxicate and Impale combo into Desert Fury. It's going to do a lot of damage.
Down he goes indeed. So Ymir and Neath finally deciding they've had enough time bullying Chalk, decide they want to go back and purchase. Neath is realizing she's not going to be able to get out of there due to the fact there's a ward there. She's just going to end up keep pushing the lane while Ymir goes back and buys, finishing off those Midas boosts that are the kind of the standard pick on supports, given that they help that gold income that is so very much needed on supports.
Definitely. We're actually going to see Bacchus not even picking up Midas boots at this point as well. Even though he does have the gold lead, it would be a good idea for Bacchus to go back and pick up those Midas boots, as it will boost his gold up by quite a lot.
Indeed. And you know, Bacchus being one of those gods that is a little bit more mana heavy than the other tanks, because you have to constantly drink in order to make full use of your abilities. The Belch of the Gods doesn't stun unless you're at the tipsy stage, I believe. And so he might want to try and get an item that will help him both as a supporting tank and help with his mana cost, because currently he's only getting that 5 mana per 5 from the Watcher's Gift.
Yep, that is definitely true. He's going to need to get a lot of mana sustain from him, as we do see Ymir and Neath did go back into kind of their respectful lanes against their respectful matchups. Neath and Ymir against Bacchus, and on her we're going to see Bacchus get initiate with his Watcher of the Gods. It's going to miss on Neath as she backflips away, or it is going to get to Ymir. The Impale is going to go out onto the Neath, missing the combo. Over back into mid lane, we're going to see Agni dash away from Thanatos. Here comes the Brutalize, and the ult is actually going to finish up. Here comes the stun. Here comes the Rain Fire. Thanatos is low. They missed the Flame Wave. Ao Kuang and Thanatos are both getting away. Agni has to come back into this mid lane and start farming up again.
Yeah, and I think the reason that we're starting to see the Neath and the Bacchus back in the duo lane now is, if you notice, before the Raw actually had the advantage over Chalk, but now Chalk is level 11 with 4,900 gold, whereas the Raw is level 10 with about the same gold as well. So again, it's coming down to an experience differential, and the Raw was able to make use of it early, but after dying twice, he's fallen a little bit behind his lane opponent, and I think Celestialponies wanted to put an end to that.
Here comes a disperse from on her. We'll pick up that Neath. Here comes the Intoxicate. Here comes the Flame Path. Agni is going to go back to lane. No, he's not. He's going to drop his Rainfire one more time. That Ymir is CC'd for a little bit. Here comes his Glacier Strike, trying to get those minions down as much as possible. Looks like CoGxx is going to pick up the first tower of the game. Thanatos coming over a little too late.
Unfortunately, yeah, you know, a lot of people make the joke that that Ymir never dies. I'm certainly one of those people, and we can see this case here. He's been banged around a whole bunch by the Onher and the Bacchus, but still manages to walk away with a little bit of health left. That's one of those reasons that people love Ymir. He's a very easy god to pick up, and he's still a great pickup. He has great CC with his Frost Breath, his Glacial Strike, his Frost Wall, and the Shards of Ice ultimate, which slow down and still deal massive damage.
That is for sure. Looks like Fenrir is going to come around near mid lane, going to pick up some mid Harpies. Everyone looks like they're just going to farm up for now. So while we're at this, we can just take a look at some builds until some action starts going on.
Yes, indeed. So we see kind of the typical start for the Ao Kuang. He has the penetration shoes of the Magi, as well as a focused Void Stone, wanting to make those tornadoes tick for as much damage as possible on each tick of the life. And I expect that we'll either see perhaps a Spear of the Magus or a Polynomicon coming out. Spear of the Magus obviously penetrating and reducing even more each tick it goes off, making those tornadoes hit more, or Polynomicon, as I said earlier, one of those favorited items on Ao Kuang, since he's one of those champions where you can use a spell, use an auto attack, cast a second spell, and continually fuel those Polynomicon enhanced attacks.
Definitely. We have been seeing some small pokes against each other in the mid lane here, rotating into mid lane, where almost all the team except for solo lane, nothing is really going on at this point. Does any team need to make some plays right now, do you think?
I mean, it's still a relatively even game. We can see that the gold difference is only 1,500 at this point. Blue team does, the CoGxX team does have a slight lead, and they're dumping a lot of their money into wards. So to me, that suggests that we're going to see a Gold Fury play at some point. We can see one ward below the Gold Fury, one ward above the Gold Fury, both belonging to the blue team. So to me, I think that